What's up, everybody? You're watching Sun Current Central today. It's January 4th, 2010. I'm Chris Alwell. Well, 44 years ago, the Three Rivers Park District began its efforts to reintroduce trumpeter swans to central Minnesota. Initial efforts to re-establish wild swans by simply releasing them into the wild were unsuccessful, so the Park District began a captive breeding program in 1973. Now trumpeter swans are flourishing, and the Three Rivers Park District will no longer run a captive breeding program. In November 2009, the last 4 flightless swans were transferred from the Park District to the Iowa DNR for their swan breeding program. Three Rivers Park District shared their story with Sun newspapers.
In the 1960s, the Board of Commissioners for Three Rivers Park District was looking for an animal that they could restore to the park reserves that would call attention to what they were trying to do and establish the park system to preserve a habitat for wildlife, to have natural areas within the Twin Cities metro area. They selected the trumpeter swan, and in conjunction with the Fish and Wildlife Service between 1968 and 1970, they brought in 40 young trumpeter swans from Red Rock Lakes National Wildlife Refuge in Montana and released them here in the hopes of reestablishing a free-flying population. Unfortunately, the initial efforts did not go well, and in the early 1970s we captured the remaining surviving birds and started a captive propagation program where the idea was to raise young birds and release them at 2 years of age. The first release took place in 1979, and it was followed by subsequent releases each year for the next 25 years. Over this period of time of 25 to 30 years, the population has grown from none to over 3,000 free-flying wild trumpeter swans in 2009. Basically, the Park District and the state non-game program have been successful in restoring the trumpeter swan to Minnesota, which I think is kind of a neat story.
That report was by Wendy Erleen. Thank you, Wendy. More than 1,000 people jumped into Lake Minnetonka on New Year's Day in the 20th annual On It and In It ice dive. The event was held at Bayview Event Center in Excelsior. Proceeds from the event will be used to support community programs such as Camp Super Kids, Minnesota for Children with Asthma. The American Lung Association of Minnesota uses money raised from the ice dive to provide camp scholarships for underprivileged youth and children whose families cannot afford to send them to camp. And the Twin West Chamber of Commerce will hold a legislative breakfast from 7:30 to 9 a.m. on Friday, January 8th at the Doubletree Hotel in St. Louis Park. The region's business community will join together with local legislators to preview upcoming legislative session. For more information and registration, visit www.twinwest.com. Any Dinah talk show host Lillian McDonald will begin answering viewers' questions during each episode of Any Dinah, beginning with the January 2010 show. Over the past 3 years, we've received many ideas for segments on the show, said cable coordinator Scott Denfeld. Some of those have made it on the air and made for some of our best entertainment. We're hoping to continue to build our relationship with our loyal viewers by including them in this new, more interactive way. If you have a question you'd like to see answered on Any Dinah, write to McDonald at edinamail@ci.edina.mn.us or Edina City Hall, 4801 West 50th Street, Edina, Minnesota 55424. Be sure to include your name to be recognized on the show. Any Dinah, a half-hour video magazine, airs at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Mondays, 5 p.m. Fridays, noon Saturdays and Sundays on Edina Channel 16. The Eden Prairie City Council and school boards will meet tomorrow night. Judging by the agenda, the council will be taking care of a bunch of procedural stuff, setting dates for commission meetings, awarding contracts for water treatment chemicals, and making appointments including the city's newspaper of record for 2010, which nobody cares about aside from nerds like me, and probably my competition at the Eden Prairie News. Tomorrow will be the first official school board meeting for new members. Tomorrow will be the first official school board meeting for new members Renee Jacobus, Chuck Muller, and Suzanne Katina. They'll be sworn in, and the board will also re-elect a chair, vice chair, clerk, and treasurer. Well, that's about it for today's webcast. Thanks for tuning in. Check back tomorrow.